The fall should have been the end, 500 feet from the iron spire's parapet, crashing through petrified canopies to the jagged shale below. The impact was a wet slap of meat, a discordant crunch of bone turning to powder. Pain, white-hot and blinding, was a familiar friend. For 3 centuries I had danced with it. I lay staring at the sliver of gray sky, my spine severed. I could tell by the terrifying silence from my legs. My left lung was pierced by a rib, every shallow breath bubbled with blood. "Messi," a voice croaked 10 feet away. I tried to turn my head, but my neck refused, sending a spike of agony through me. I had to wait. I counted the seconds. A familiar warmth spread from my core, the hum of cellular knitting. "You have terrible aim," I wheezed, the blood clearing my throat as lung tissue stitched itself together. "I aimed perfectly," a woman's voice retorted, smoky, strained, and laced with pain. "You just moved." "I do that when people try to stab me with void glass daggers." "It was obsidian, you uncultured swine." I managed a full breath. Regeneration was kicking in fast. I pushed my consciousness toward my extremities, forcing nerves to reconnect. With a wet, popping sound that echoed in the ravine, my neck snapped back into alignment. I rolled my head to the left. She was a ruin of a woman, Vesper, the assassin. She lay twisted, her legs at impossible angles. Her leathers were torn, revealing skin that was already shifting, bruising dark purple before fading to pale gold. Her silver hair was matted with blood, hers or mine, I couldn't tell. She stared right at me. Her eyes were a startling electric violet, undimmed by the trauma. "You're not dead," Vesper observed, her voice gaining strength. "Observant," I muttered, "neither are you." Evidently, she winced as her femur audibly cracked, realigning itself. A low, guttural groan, somehow more intimate than a scream. "Fuck." "That's the worst part," I said, watching with detached curiosity. "The big bones take more energy." "I know how it works," she snapped, closing her eyes. "I've been doing this a long time." "Not as long as me. You wouldn't have tackled me off a spire. You would have known the fall wouldn't stick." Vesper opened one eye. "I was banking on the impact scattering your pieces far enough apart you wouldn't reform for a week. Gave me time to collect the bounty." "Ambitious. I have bills to pay." We lay in silence, the only sounds the wind and the grotesque squelching of our bodies mending. It was a strange intimacy, lying broken beside the woman who had just tried to murder me. When the last breath never comes, the dynamic shifts. I flexed my fingers, then pushed myself up on my elbows. My spine screamed, but it held. "Don't," Vesper warned, her voice tight. "If you stand before the pelvis sets, you'll limp for an hour." I'm impatient. I dragged myself into a sitting position against a mossy boulder. I looked at her, really looked. Beneath the gore, she was devastating. High cheekbones, a mouth made for sin, and a body that radiated lethal power. "So," I said, wiping blood from my eyes, "since we have a moment before we resume trying to slaughter one another, I'm Sylas." "I know who you are, target," she gritted out. "I'm Vesper." "Well, Vesper, we are at an impasse." "Temporary," she promised. "Once my legs work, I'm cutting your head off and putting it in a lead box." I chuckled, which hurt. "You can try. The last person who tried that ended up in a very deep hole." "I like holes," she murmured, her eyes drifting shut. "And challenges." I watched her chest rise and fall, the torn leather revealing the rapid healing of a scratch across her sternum. The skin knit together flawlessly. My gaze lingered a moment too long. "Eyes up, Immortal," she whispered without opening them. "Just admiring the craftsmanship," I lied. "We aren't friends." "No," I agreed, strength returning to my legs. "We're certainly not that." I was about to move when a shadow fell over us, not a cloud. High above, silhouettes appeared on the ravine lip, hunched, skeletal things. Vesper's eyes snapped open. "The scavengers?" she asked. "Worse," I said, my blood running cold. "So leaders, they sense the life force from our regeneration." Vesper tried to move her legs and cried out, collapsing back, useless from the waist down. I tried to stand and fell to one knee. We were powerful, eternal, but at this moment mid-heal, we were just meat on a platter. The first creature shrieked and began to scuttle down the rock face toward us.
Want to keep the flame ignited without having to wait for the next part? You can find the full tantalizing tale on our main page. See the link in the description.